Hey everybody, this is Super Mom. Super Dad and I were talking about something the other night, and I just kind of wanted to share it. But before I get started, let's go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. If you like the videos that are on our channel, please like, share, subscribe, pass it on, hit that like bell. We just like to have fun together. Just to show people it's okay to play and be silly with your family. It's okay to bond. That's what we really kind of strive for as a family, and we were doing that before we came up with this channel. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for being a subscriber, and share the word. So Super Dad and I were talking the other night. We've gotten wind of some people we know who are sadly getting a divorce, and I've met some girls here recently who are way younger than myself who are already on a second marriage, and it is shocking to me and to Super Dad that people are getting divorced at such a young age and getting married at such a young age on top of that. So that got me thinking, what makes our marriage different than other people that we know? And after us, talking about it for a few minutes, we figured out, we think it's because of our level of communication. Now, we're not a psychiatrist by any means. This is purely our opinion and what we believe as a couple. And we think it comes down to simple communication. Now, when we were dating, of course, we didn't want to spend a minute away from each other. And we loved being together and all those wonderful, lovely feelings of when you meet somebody new and you're in love and life is wonderful. But as we realized that we were looking at each other as a possible forever partner, we seriously sat down and started communicating with one another and saying, what are you looking for? What are you wanting out of this? Who's being the majority breadwinner? Who's cleaning the house? Who's taking care of the kids? How many kids do you want? What kind of house? Are you a cat or a dog person? If this type of situation was on the table, how would you handle it? And we asked those kind of questions back and forth. They didn't come from a book. It wasn't anything anybody told us to do. It was something we just decided to do. As I was thinking about doing this video, I did a little bit of research just to make sure that my facts were straight. And of course, according to the good old internet, because everything is true that shows up on the internet, it says that about 50% of all marriages end in divorce. And that is really, really sad. 1 out of every 2 marriages, somebody's going to make it and somebody's not. The number one cause, again, according to the internet, is money troubles. And then number 2 I saw was a lack of communication. And then as the list, I found a top 20 list. As the list went on, some of the other reasons could all relate back to a lack of communication. It was unrealistic expectations, not being prepared to be married in the first place, different parenting styles. And then all of those issues, along with money, can lead to arguing, which was another cause, was the constant arguing. Things have gotten to the point now to where I watch Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank. And I saw a product not too long ago, and I can't remember the name of it, but it just honestly cracked me up. It was a device, a circle device that sat on your bedside table and your partner's bedside table. And if you were feeling like you were in the mood that evening, you could tap your circle. And then if your partner happened to be feeling the same way, he could tap he or she could tap their circle. And then the devices would alert you by turning green that both of you were on the same page. And I just was like, why is this necessary? Why can't you just roll over and tap your partner on the shoulder? Why do you need a device on your bedside table? Is it because, or is it as simple as everybody is staring at their phone and paying attention to their device and texting back and forth that nobody's having a real conversation anymore? Which is what I'm sure younger millennials are doing, which I will admit, technically, I am a millennial. However, I'm at the very edge of the start point. And just, I'll admit I'm knocking on 40's door, but I'm right there at the start date. And so I still believe in talking. And I prefer to talk on the phone rather than text all the time. I annoy a lot of people that way, but I would just rather say hi with my mouth, not my hands. But this device, it seemed really bizarre. And along with that came the idea of, well, if you had any type of communication whatsoever, and if your partner knows you well enough, they should be able to pick up on your subtle signs. You don't have to necessarily come out and say it, but they should be able to know you well enough to read you to know that a certain look, a certain touch on the shoulder means whatever. Or when you're mad and your mad face is on, but you're not saying it verbally, again, they should be able to pick up on your non-verbal communication at, ooh, maybe they're mad, or maybe they had a hard day, or maybe the children have, spilled a gallon of paint and set the house on fire. So I guess what it all comes down to is I think everybody needs to go back to the basics of having a conversation, looking somebody in the eye, especially somebody who you think is going to be your forever partner, your helpmate. We knew from the beginning that we wanted this to be as 50-50 as possible. Now, no relationship can ever be 50-50. It's not possible. Somebody is always going to be doing more than somebody else. It's just natural. But you can strive for it. And you can help your partner, be it if it's their turn to vacuum and sweep and mop, and it's not yours, but you've got the time, then pick up that broom, pick up that mop, help them out. Show the children that chores can be shared equally, that it doesn't have to be the woman's job. It doesn't have to be the man's job. Both of you can share whatever task, whatever chore it is equally. And we have always tried to do that here in this house. Many a times have our boys seen their father vacuum the house for me, or watch him wash the dishes because I cooked dinner, so he's cleaning the kitchen. It's things like that. But those were all things that we decided on before we even said I do. And yes, I'm sure some of you are going to ask, well, but did they live together beforehand? And the answer is yes. For a whopping 2 months, we lived together before we said I do. And that was because of a start date for my job. Because back then I was a teacher and I had to be at the school near where we were going to be moving to. And where my parents were living at the time, it would have been one crazy commute if I had driven from my parents' house. So everybody decided, smart thing, go ahead and move in. And we dated almost exactly a year and a half from the day that we met to the day that we said, I do. We were short 7 days of it being a whopping year and a half. So dating doesn't have to be long. You don't need to spend 2-3 years together, then move in and spend another 2-3 years. If you know that it's right, but you got to talk beforehand. You can't just think that the gooey eyes and the I love you and the, not wanting to be away from each other is enough. Because to some degree that fades. And what you're left with is a partner and someone who understands you. But you don't get there if you don't talk first. And if you don't spread your cards out on the table, all these ridiculous games or trying to be perfect. We didn't do any of that. We just laid it all out on the table and said, this is me. Does this work for you? And in our case, it did. And we've been together for 15 years. Later this year, it'll be 16. Obviously, we feel like we are doing something right. And I hope this doesn't just fall on deaf ears or goes out into the cosmos for no one to see. But I hope it helps, because that is my goal, is to try to help. Maybe if one other person learns how to really communicate, or I should say another couple really learns how to communicate, they won't end up in divorce. So, I hope you like this video. Remember, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, and I will see you next time.